It's only year 2 of the Venables era, and he's been known to say some interesting things at Big 12 Media Day.
It's been just like you would expect. The fire hose is fully inserted in my mouth here, and we've been blowing and going, and so.
This year was no different, starting with a couple of controversies. The first one really came out of left field. When Venables was speaking on his disappointing first season with the Sooners, he made a comparison to another struggling program, saying, "There's lots of ways you can be 6-7, none of it's good. But had we gotten blown out by a Middle Tennessee, had we gotten beat by Florida State 45-3, the conversation is probably a little different." The program he is referring to is of course Miami, a team that also went 6-7 last season. Recruiting battles may have played a role here, as Oklahoma and Miami have targeted a crop of recruits including David Stone, the number 2 defensive tackle in the class of 2024. But it might not be a good idea to throw stones in a glass house. Miami fans do make a good point. In comparison, Venables has sunk the program more so than Cristobal has. Miami hasn't been playing to their standard for a while now, while this is the first losing season for the Sooners in over 20 years. Venables also pointed out that Miami got crushed by their rival, but we all know how last year's game against Texas went down. And while yes, I know 6-7 is 6-7, but if you are comparing two teams with identical records and need to find something to differentiate the two, OU lost 5 of their 7 games by 1 score, while Miami lost 5 of their 7 games by 14 or more points. Oklahoma also played Florida State much closer than Miami did. However, again, as I'm sure everyone will mention, 7 losses is 7 losses and a losing season is a losing season. Both teams drastically underperformed, but at the end of the day in recruiting battles you scratch and claw for any advantage you can get, even in a down year. Then we had the Deion Sanders shot, which has blown up.
So you can talk about a culture change and, a resetting of the standards and what the expectations are. I gave guys 12 months of grace, and I was unlike Deion. I gave guys 12 months of grace to figure it out. Here's the 3. Go to class, live right off the field, and when you show up over here, man, you show up with respect and appreciation for your opportunity. And if you go 0 for 3 for 12 months, you need a fresh start.
The interesting part about this is Venables didn't just double down on it, but mentioned it multiple times in a variety of different interviews, so it clearly was not a mistake. The media has decided to take this and run with it. Take PTI for example.
Deion's out there. Deion's way out there like Saturn's rings with what he's doing in his approach. And I'm going to root for him so hard you would think his last name was Wilbon, to beat all these loudmouth, sanctimonious, self-righteous college football coaches who dislike Deion for whatever reasons. I have my own suspicions.
And it's pretty easy to tell what Wilbon is hinting at here, but I really don't think that's the case. This is simply 2 different ways of roster management in 2 very different situations. Deion has turned the Colorado roster over in a way that I don't think any college football coach has ever done. And when he did, there was a lot of controversy regarding his methods. You can afford to give guys time and see what you've got when you have the talent that Oklahoma has on their roster, versus the clear lack of talent in Boulder. Again, clearly 2 different situations and 2 different ways of handling them. Was there a purpose to Venables saying this, or a goal? Maybe assuring players some stability in Norman? It's tough to tell, but maybe something will come to light eventually. I highly doubt Venables said this to try to tear Deion down like the media has portrayed, but he did bring this negative attention to himself by calling out one of the most high-profile and polarizing coaches in college football today. You could see it coming from a mile away. Big 12 Media Day wasn't just controversy for Sooner Nation. Venables discussed how the Big 12 is in great hands moving forward, and his history with the league. He covered roster turnover directly related to the program, how the team grew and learned a lot over last season, and the improvements fans should expect to see. From shoring up the mistakes on defense to increasing competitive depth for stronger fourth quarters and close games. But of course, all of that was overshadowed, because if there isn't any actual college football being played, the next best thing to talk about is drama. So should Brent Venables stop talking? Absolutely not. This is college football. Coaches take shots at each other, at other programs. It comes with the territory. However, when you do take those shots, it's best not to miss. Let's see if the 2023 Oklahoma Sooners back Venables up. And speaking of Coach Prime, check out this video on why Deion Sanders will help turn around not just the Colorado program, but the entire Pac-12 conference. And as always, have a great day and see you at the next one.